Good morning. I'd like to do a critique on the draft projects that were turned in on Thursday night. This particular set will have all the last names that start from Barrett and go to Clifton. This first project looks great. There's some really nice things going on here. One of the things that I really like is the contrast in these two typefaces. Not only is there a size contrast, but a category contrast and a weight contrast. So that makes this typography really strong. Plus you didn't use any generic fonts, fonts that are cliche or that have been used a lot. And that happens frequently with script fonts. So you've done a nice job choosing a script that works on this piece and creates a nice contrast. I also love the contrast that's happening down here in this text, because these two lines of text function differently, and visually you can tell that they have a different function than these two lines of text and then this line of text, because you've changed size, you've changed weight and color down here. So very well done. Also, setting this text on a little bit darker box was a good idea to help it be readable. So well done. Now some things that I would consider changing. Thing number one is the texture that's on this image. It's not a bad texture. In fact, this is just a little thing. But this texture comes from the scanner itself. And what you want to do, if you don't want this texture, is to scan your image with a D-screen filter. So you'll need to use a scanner that doesn't have, or that has a professional mode, or a mode that lets you take control of the scan. And if you find the D-screen filter, that will help to get rid of this crosshatch pattern. Another thing that I would consider is your message and your audience. So this is really the first step of the focus design process, because is your intent to find somebody who's blue, and bring them to this event? If not, then why is know someone blue your big message? Let's say I do know someone blue. Or let's say I don't. If I don't know someone who's blue, then should I not come to this bake sale? I think you could have a stronger big message here. I also wonder if maybe this shouldn't be a bake sale. The thing that would attract me to come to a bake sale isn't a picture of blue stuff, but it would be a picture of food. So maybe you could change the event up so that it's not a bake sale. Maybe it's a support group, or I don't know, something different, fashion show, or I don't know what, cheer up your friends, cheer up blue people. I don't know. So think carefully about that. What is your message? Does the image and the text all work together in a gestalt to communicate that message? So even though the design with the typography here is working, the message and the audience don't seem to be connecting very well. Also really consider, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, you have great white space. So there's plenty of space around this text and plenty of space around this text. I love that. Really appreciate how you used your space. Think about alignment next. So you have a great contrast here, but look at this alignment. See the edge of this and how it doesn't go along with the edge of that. I don't mind that these edges don't line up. That's okay, but everything should connect to something. And right now, these two lines aren't connected. They're not lined up. Now, this text down here, I think it is aligned, but the alignment, the invisible vertical line, is in the center of this text. And because it's in the center, my eye doesn't see it. The alignment, or unity is weak. Whereas the thing that my eye does see is this. And this, although it's pleasing and symmetrical, it's not strong and unified. You have such a strong place in your image right here. It's coming all the way down through this person. I would consider right aligning my text, not right up against her or anything, but find a strong invisible vertical line right there that would pull all of this text right into that strong part of my image. And that would bring it together, and that would create a strength and a unity. You'd be surprised how powerful that can be. It's a simple thing, but it can be very powerful. Okay, so that's that one. Again, good job. Just a couple things to consider. Really like this project as well. One thing that you need to think about is the requirements on this project say that there has to be a benefactor. In other words, someone who will benefit from this event, and there has to, wait, that's the beneficiary. Someone who will benefit from the event. They're the beneficiary of whatever is happening. You're raising money, you're raising awareness, you're doing something. And I imagine, I guess the conference attendees would be beneficiaries, but who's the benefactor? Who is sponsoring the event? I guess LDS Church is sponsoring it. It doesn't seem like quite the right kind of event. It's an advertisement, an event ad. And well, anyway, think about it. If you really want to do this conference thing, I suppose you can get away with it, but be sure that you read the specs. Be sure you read the project requirements and that it fits. As far as your design goes, there's some really nice things going on here. One thing that I really like is that you've got some hierarchy in your typography. So you've done a great job contrasting sizes and fonts and bold and not bold. And so the information is super organized. You've also created some contrast with the background so that even though this is a high contrast image, these white boxes are helping the text to be more readable. Now you do have some center alignment right here, so that these top two lines of text are aligned to each other in their center, so their power is hidden. Whereas these three lines have a nice strong left alignment, and these lines have a nice strong left, and these lines have a nice strong left. This is floating. It's not connected to anything. It's not even center aligned. So I would avoid that one. A couple of other things that I noticed is that your first sentence doesn't grammatically make sense. Come listen to living prophet's voice. Now, are you talking prophets plural? If so, then wouldn't it be come listen to living prophets' voices? If you're talking prophet apostrophe possessive, then wouldn't you say come listen to a living prophet's voice? So think carefully about that. Also, it's interesting that there's such big space here. The idea of proximity says that things that are close are closely related to each other. These three words, LDS, general, and conference, because there's such a space between them, look like they're not related. Visually, you've said these are three separate things. So I would do something to come in here and take care of that space. There's a little bit of that up in these big words as well. Like right here, do you see that big space between R and O? That indicates that there's less of a relationship between the R here and the O than there is between some of these other letters. So you might want to do a little kerning work to help equalize all the spaces. Most of this looks pretty good. It's mostly there at that R and O that I notice a problem. You'll want to look at AP style for the format of your date. You want to be sure that all your text is readable, and it is pretty much. I would probably make this white box more opaque or less transparent, so that in the dark places, like right in there and right in here, there's a better contrast between the foreground and the background. And if you could, minimize the number of alignments, unify things. Right now you've got kind of this center aligned thing going on here. You've got this, which isn't aligned to anything. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 places that are kind of strong vertical alignment places. And you've got this place in the image. It's another 6. I would say minimize the number of those so that you can have more unity and strength. Love this photo. It's compelling, it's emotional, it's funny. Really like that. Like your little saying up here, don't have an Instagram, but I'll still follow you. I'm not sure what this is about. Let me do a little reading here. More than a responsibility, more than a pet, more than a friend, family. Join us for our annual adoption fair. Nice. Humane Society. So Humane Society are the sponsors. What do I need to bring? Is there an entrance fee? Or do I come planning to adopt a pet? Probably that's what I'll be doing. That kind of makes sense here. Who will benefit? Because I'll have to probably pay. It's probably the Humane Society. So are they sponsoring it and benefiting from it? I wonder if you want to have 2 different organizations, one that sponsors and one that benefits. Or maybe not. Maybe this is fine. The Humane Society is sponsoring and all proceeds will go to help pets without owners or something, or maybe to benefit the Humane Society itself. You've got some nice contrast here. I love how big family is. The only problem with this big word family is that it's not really the big, I mean, it's your big message, but I think your big message is annual adoption fair. In other words, if all I could read, if I was 10 feet away from this and all I could read was family, I would look at the picture and I would look at family and I'd go, family? This doesn't look like it's a family. You know, is this, what's going on? It doesn't seem to jive together. So think about your audience and your message. I like your message. I like the kind of the, it's not a joke necessarily, but it's a message of pets being, you know, part of a family, or it's more than just an animal. But I would think that's the secondary message. Your primary message is come to the annual adoption fair. So see if you can rework your hierarchy so the main message is, instead of family, is something about the adoption fair. Okay, here's the last one for this set. This particular project looks like it isn't quite finished. It doesn't look like things are, there's not a gestalt. I guess that's what I would say. There's not a gestalt. Here's a couple things you could do to help that. Well, actually, let me say a couple things that you're doing well. You've got some nice, strong places of alignment. Okay, so you've got these 4 nice places of strong left alignment. These are kind of floating, and they feel just a little bit out of place because you've got this vector geometric style in all of these in solid colors, and then the cupcakes, you know, they're kind of cut out. The background's been removed, and they're organic, which is great. Cupcakes, you want to be organic. You want them to look tasty. But these 2 styles don't seem to be fitting together. There's something in the colors that are kind of working together, although this probably has a little bit too much blue in it, a little bit too much cyan. So consider more theme, I guess, more repetition. Consider making your cupcakes bigger. You've got to make me hungry. And big food cropped close, maybe even let the cupcake come off the edge. Make it huge, so that it makes me want to eat it. Instead of making it co-equal in weight with this box up here and these arrows over here. Right now, these three elements, this 1, 2, and 3, they're all competing for dominance here. And so the hierarchy isn't very clear. My eye's looking at these and then not. Well, this is secondary. I guess this would be number 2 and this would be number 3. Oops, I should have done that. 2 and 3. It's clear what's going on. That's good. So it's a cupcake, buy one, get one. You come here. I'm not sure what time I come. Do I show up at 7 o'clock in the morning or is it in the evening? That's going to be important to tell me what time it starts. And I need to know who the beneficiary is. I can tell that Cocoa Bean is sponsoring this event, but are the proceeds going to something to help out people who are addicted to cupcakes? Or, there's got to be a beneficiary. Also, you'll want to make your margins as small as possible, because what will happen is printers won't print all the way to the edges, and you'll have to trim all of this white off. I want a full bleed, at least on one edge of your advertisement, and it will look better if you trim all the white, excess white off. So minimize the margins. I think that's in the instructions and the requirements for the project. I think that you'll want to make this bigger. You'll want to make something really stand out and make it clear what is going on from a distance. You want to be sure that your text is readable on the background. So this black on this kind of dark, whatever color that is, red or I don't know. Anyway, there's not much contrast here. So if I'm 10 feet away, I'm not going to be able to see that. The text here is nice and readable. It would be nice if you had some contrast between cupcake and BOGO, or make it one thing. So instead of 2 lines, could it be cupcake BOGO all on one line? And maybe the O and the G and the O should be capitalized, since it's an acronym, it stands for something else. Yeah, that's it. So I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you in class.